So this is Jesus in the throne room, and he opens the fourth seal. Revelation 6:7. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth.
It's a pretty good warning, isn't it? You don't really want to be around for that. That time-wise comes in basically the middle of the 7-year period. And that's when the pale horse arrives on the scene. But traditional teaching says that's also when the abomination takes place. Traditional teaching actually gets a lot of things wrong. And we're going to show that right now, because it needs to be clarified, because the abomination that actually occurs takes place towards the end, or almost at the very end of the 7-year period. If you read the scripture very carefully, and it's all there, read Daniel 12:11 and 12:12, you'll see that from you'll know, because we know from Daniel 9:27 that the Antichrist stops the daily sacrifice in the middle of his I emphasize that, 7-year period, which is not Daniel's 7-year period. So that occurs, and then from the ceasing of the daily sacrifice, the abomination takes place 1,290 days into the future. That's over 3.5 biblical years. It's actually 43 months. So that happens at the very end of the 7-year period. And it's actually 45 days before the end of Daniel's 70th week, when it terminates or comes to an end. So there you are, you have it. So we know that the period of time that the pale horse is running, and this is the time of the mark of the beast. This is another thing too. There's so many people going out there saying, the mark of the beast is getting served up now. That's rubbish. Yep. That is absolute rubbish. If you read the Bible, it says that the false prophet is the one who's going to force the mark of the beast on the people. And that we know now, that the mark of the beast is only happening when the false prophet is riding the pale horse, and that is basically October 2032 onwards, and that'll run through to 2036. So that is the time of the mark of the beast. So all these people going around saying, the mark of the beast is here, there, and everywhere, that's false prophets, false teachers. They need to sit down, read the King James Version of the Bible carefully, word for word, scripture upon scripture, and get it right, because they're lying and deceiving people. What do you reckon, Mark? Murray?
Don't hold back, Leo.
I get a little excited sometimes on these ones, because it annoys me so much that there's so many false teachers out there. We were just talking about this.
Tell us, what happened?
Well, I got shown. Yeah, I got shown. Given the name of a particular pastor. I've no idea. Never heard of him before. Anyway, he was virtually going out saying all these dates and times, end times, and specifying this and that and everything else. With it sounded like great authority, and what a fantastic story. But none of his dates had any biblical basis whatsoever. All the dates that we rely on are based in the King James Version of the Bible, and they actually can be all reconciled with authority to know that what we're saying is right. With our podcasts, there's always something unique you'll get, because we won't put anything out unless we can validate it and verify it. as we've said in the previous one, we're not too sure on a couple of things to do with the black horse at the moment, so we're going to investigate that a little bit more. But a lot of other things we're very clear on. There's a lot of other things that we want to talk about too, and we will in the near future. But anyway, just to cap off where the pale horse is, it is running between 2032 and 2036, and that is when the mark of the beast time comes in. So anybody, as I said to you, anybody who's threatening you with the mark of the beast in words or deeds and other things like that for the meantime, they're a false prophet, false teacher, and ignore them because they're not discerning.
And there's so many of them. They're all throughout YouTube. You just click and you've got thousands of them. And they're all talking about end times and this date and that date, and none of them are going by the Bible.
Yep. One of the false teachings that most people get, and I've had it myself, is to do with the abomination that causes desolation. The thinking is that it fits in the middle of the Antichrist week. What we've already shown to you is the Antichrist week does start before Daniel's final week, and in the middle of that week, that is when the actual daily sacrifice stops. But most people, when they're reading this, they read Daniel 9:27, where it runs into straight away and it talks about this ceasing of the daily sacrifice and the abomination. But what they never do, and this is a flaw with so many teachers and pastors round about, they don't compare scripture with scripture. If they looked at Daniel 12:11 and 12:12, they would see that there is a gap between the middle, or when the Antichrist stopped the daily sacrifice, there's 1290 days. This is Daniel 12:11, and there's 1290 days between the stopping of the daily sacrifice and the abomination that causes desolation. So if you work on the middle of the Antichrist week and add on 3.5 years, and bearing in mind the middle of his timeline was 3.5 years, that was Gregorian calendar years, bearing in mind also it started before Daniel's, you will come to a period in 2036, which is within 45 days of the end of Daniel's 70th week. Simple as that. Now, what I would say is this is unique to this channel because we've studied, like so many other things in the Daniel 70 weeks, all the pastors and teachers have got it totally wrong because they're flitting around on a floating week and they miss everything. So you're getting something which is unique, and I suggest prove it by reading the King James Version of the Bible. Very simple to do, and you will see that you've been lied to.